Hello out there, this is Cammie White, and you're listening to Rushdown Radio.
Hey guys, welcome to a brand new video of Rushdown Radio. I'm Michael, and I'm here to talk about the X-Men, because I freaking love the X-Men. They're like one of my favorite comic book franchises, and just overall I love X-Men in general. Like, I have so much X-Men stuff, like figures and posters and just so much stuff. So I'm a huge fan, and I want to talk about the X-Men because I feel like over the last 10 years there's been so much that's happened, and just in general there's such a weirdness I think it happened with the franchise as far as X-Men is concerned, and we know why, and I guess I'll have to go into that first because that's important. But just to do some quick housekeeping, so the X-Men, I believe, started in the 60s. I think the first issue came out in 68, but I could be wrong, so don't quote me completely on the year it all started. But I feel like the X-Men were an incredibly popular franchise for Marvel for a long time, but I think they made their first real peak in the 90s, especially when they came out with X-Men Volume 1, drawn by the incredible Jim Lee, which that issue, I think it was 94 or 96, I think it was 94, and that issue went on to sell 8.1 million copies. It's still in the Guinness Book of World Records as the best-selling single comic book issue of all time. So yay for X-Men and that. And the 90s were such a big renaissance era for the X-Men as far as a brand. Like, they were the face of Marvel. I mean, we got so much stuff. We got like cartoons and so many video games. Like, there were so many beat 'em ups and just action adventure games, and like the gaming aspect of X-Men was just such enthralling in the 90s. Like, we just had so much abundance. I think a lot of it contributed to the fact that the comic book and the cartoon were just so vividly popular. They were just, you couldn't escape the X-Men in the 90s. Like, there was no way. Like, they were everywhere. And the TV show, the animated series, still to this day is one of the greatest adaptations from a comic book to a cartoon that's ever come out. Personally, I think it's probably the best between that and maybe Batman animated series. It's really good too, but I'm not really big at Batman like that. But anyway, there was just so much of abundance of things going on with the X-Men. Unfortunately, Marvel sat there and wasn't making a lot of money somehow. I guess there was like a term where they weren't making a lot of money towards they almost went bankrupt, and they sold the rights to various companies. Different places got hold of different movie rights for a lot of their properties. Fox taking the rights of X-Men and making I don't want to say horrendous job, but they had a mixed bag of movies when it came to the X-Men. And I won't say that the movies are bad. I'll just say that the movies definitely have a very specific aesthetic that I don't really necessarily agree with. But a lot of people who do love the X-Men franchise, as far as the movies go, the Fox made ones, there's a lot of people who actually do fervently love them. Like, I have a friend who's a huge comic book reader. He's been reading comic books for years, almost decades, probably decades, and he's an avid historian of comic books, and he thoroughly enjoys the X-Men Fox franchise. So a lot of people just have this misconception that people who do like the Fox movies are just, casual fans. No, there are a lot of really diehard fans of the comic books who love the Fox made movies. Now, that's not me, because I can't rock with the Fox stuff. I tried. I think the people who make these movies don't have a love or appreciation for the comic books that much. They just think that, this would be a cool movie to make. And you can tell in the way that they go about redoing storylines and redoing powers, and just how they treat the source material is just kind of like an afterthought. So, not my favorite thing at all. But there are people who do love it, so I let them rock with the franchise. Luckily, though, we don't have to suffer that anymore. We're done. That's it. Fox is canceled when it comes to X-Men, because the movie rights went back to Marvel. So that's a good thing. When we get an actual Marvel Studios produced X-Men movie, that will yet to be seen. We'll have to see that probably, I would say, in the next maybe 6-7 years. We might get our first X-Men movie made by Marvel, but we'll see. I do want to say that even though Fox isn't my favorite company that produced X-Men stuff, they did have a few good gems. I will say that the Logan movie was incredible. Both Deadpool movies are really good, and the what's the name of the show? I can't think of it now. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's right there. Legion. Yeah, I love Legion. Legion is so good. It's such a great adaptation of Legion as a character, and I think that's the only one I really liked as far. I mean, I have little parts about each movie I like, and there are some parts I'm like, ugh, that was kind of gross. I mean, they still haven't been able to really successfully do the Phoenix Saga, and they probably never will, and of course they can't now, because the last movie, Dark Phoenix was that last movie they actually was producing. I think that the New Mutants movie, I don't know what the state of that movie is right now. I think they're still up in the air as far as like what they're gonna do with it. It would be good to debate that like a I don't know, Hulu movie, or I don't know, Netflix movie or something like that. I don't think there needs to be a theatrical release for it. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know, because the way they're going about this, way more of a horror film. And yeah, there are a lot of horror aspects to New Mutants. If you ever read the New Mutants comics, I get where that comes in, but I feel like that's becoming the overall, like, it's becoming the forefront of the movie as far as the aesthetic is concerned. That kind of takes away from the whole superhero aspect of it. But anyway, this is my soapbox when it comes to more New Mutants. I think the New Mutants franchise will be great. I think that moving away from the core, like, you know, Jean, Scott, Wolverine, would be a good thing for Marvel when they do make movies for X-Men, because it's just been, we've had so many Wolverine movies. It's over. It's tired. We gotta move on from him. Like, there's so many other characters, so many other stories that could be told, and I think that focusing on Wolverine and Cyclops and Jean Grey is kind of like getting old. Even me personally, I'm a huge Jean Grey fan. I think it's time we get some other people shine, get some other characters and some other stories uplifted into movies. So hopefully that's the case. Now back to comic books. So I feel like comic books are the bread and butter of X-Men. Is the core of what it is. I mean, that's how it all started. So all this other stuff is kind of like secondary to me. And I feel like back in the 90s, they had a really good idea of what they wanted to do as far as like keeping the momentum up with these stories, and throughout the 90s they had a really good run. Like, I think the 90s were probably like I think the 80s and 90s were probably like their best runs when it came to X-Men comic books. Yeah, 80s and 90s were really good. They had some really good, incredible stories they were telling. And then we hit a ditch around 2000 is when things started to get a little weird. New X-Men wasn't my personal favorite run for X-Men, but it was kind of leaning into this where they were trying to, I don't know, I just feel like they were trying to capture what the movies were doing, or the movies were trying to capture. Like, it was like this symbiotic relationship between the movies and the comic books at the time, where they were trying to like do similar things. It was really weird. I think they were trying to like play off each other a little bit, and it showed because there was like a really big dip in quality. I think after New X-Men was probably the last like really incredible run they've had for the X-Men franchise as far as the comic book is concerned. Then we got to like the weird like post New X-Men age where like Emma Frost was like a prominent figure, and we got these really weird art styles after a while, and it was like these new team ups, and then we got to Schism, and that's when we got the two different X-Men books, where one was led by Wolverine and the other was led by Cyclops. And then we got the AVX shenanigans in 2012, which was a mixed bag. So I think X-Men versus Avengers Avengers versus X-Men was probably where things got really out of whack. That's when things just start to go complete off the rails. There was like event after event after event after event after event, rehash, reboot, relaunch. We had so many relaunches. We had like at least 4 or 5 relaunches in that time period. Of those relaunches, I have to say that the X-Men Red relaunch that came out last year, I think, was incredible. Probably one of the best story arcs for X-Men post New X-Men, to be honest. Like, this was so good. It had the rebirth of Jean Grey. She had her own team. They find Cassandra Nova. Of course, Cassandra Nova's always around, so no surprise there. And it was a really incredible book. I think it was really well written. It had some incredible artwork, and of course it got canceled. That's another thing about the X-Men books over like the last 10 years. They would have like these really cool stories. Like, they'll start off really good, they get canceled. Start really good, get canceled. Like, they will come up with these really extravagant storylines, and then nothing comes of it. One of the biggest ones I think was like the what was it? The all new X-Men, where they took the X-Men from the time displaced ones from the old day, the first class kids when they were like 16, 17, 18, and placed them into the present day. And that was like a hodgepodge. I mean, it was mixed as far as like how good it was, but it was just all over the place. And I feel like X-Men hasn't really found its footing for the longest because of the fact that Marvel didn't have the rights to it for movies, and they just saw how much money it was making from the MCU, and they're like, okay, well, they kind of put it in the back burner. Oh yeah, one more thing I have to add, that Disney did buy Marvel, back in 2009, and the deal was complete in 2010. So I think that's another reason why they just stopped having such a quality comic book storytelling, because they really didn't care about X-Men as far as a brand. You start to see like less and less stuff being produced. You start to see less and less cartoons. You start to see less and less X-Men characters just involved in a lot of things as far as Marvel's branding concerned. I mean, they just recently started to come up with toys, which I think is now we're finally in a resurgence, renaissance of the X-Men because of Jonathan Hickman. Jonathan Hickman is now at the helm of the X-Men brand as far as the comics are concerned, and he is doing a fantastic job. I own two. I'm buying them individually because I want to support House of X, and Powers of X are so good. Like, these are some of the most incredible comic book. This is probably the best comic book event they've made in Marvel since, I think, Time Runs Out was pretty good. I think Hickman did that too, which is probably why I loved it so much. And this new era of X-Men is so great, and I feel like they waited to like, okay, we have the movie rights back, so now is the perfect time to really like relaunch X-Men to the prominent figures of Marvel as they should be, because X-Men is like the lifeblood of Marvel. Between X-Men and Spider-Man, they're like the lifeblood of Marvel. I think they had to use the Avengers because they had the rights to Avengers. They're like, okay, well, we gotta make some money and do something with these characters, so that's why the MCU became such a big deal. But I honestly think if they had the movie rights to X-Men back in the day when they first started doing the MCU, the X-Men would probably still be a top line, like, prominent figure in Marvel. But, you know, things happen and we have to do what we can do, what we have. So right now, Jonathan Hickman is writing he's pretty much reshaping the entire X-Men mythos. Like, he's doing really cool things with Omega 11 mutants, which I really appreciate. He's doing a lot of good things with characters that really didn't have a lot of like meat to them. Like, he's really restructuring the X-Men brand as far as like the comics are concerned. And I think by doing this, it will only help the brand as a whole, because the comic books are the soul of X-Men. Like, that's where it all starts. So if the comic books are showing up like flying off the shelves, which they are, and they're hard to find, this House of X and Power of 10 are flying off the shelves. They're hard to get by. Like, I had to get a second print of, what was that? I think that's House of X. No, that's Powers of 10 Volume 2. I had to go scour the area to get that, because they're really hard to come by, which is a good thing because people are buying comic books again. And that was one of the main issues that Marvel's had for a long time, is that people weren't buying comic books at all, especially X-Men. They were always like, they'll have a issue number 1 will always sell incredibly well, because that's just issue number 1. That's always been a thing. Issue 1s always sell well, and after that they trail off, and then they'll cut something or they'll cancel something, and you're like, oh man, I like that franchise, I like that book. Like, the Iceman book was canceled. I think the Storm book was canceled. The X-Men Red, Gold, and what was it? Red, Gold, and Blue all canceled. They just were canceling books left and right, and now it's like, okay, we're starting complete from scratch with a brand new book. I'm gonna be the only person writing it, and I think that's probably the good thing about this, because Jonathan Hickman is the only person that is doing writing for this. So it's like it's one singular like voice for the whole entire brand, which is good, because they would have so many different people writing different stuff, and things didn't make sense over here. You're like, why is this happening over here and this is happening over there? So now you have one singular person that's creating this universe again, and it's been such an incredible read. Like, I have been so enthralled. I think we're at the midway point of, we are at the midway point, because it's I think Volume 3 for Powers of 10 comes out this week. So we're at the midway point of this this event. before that leads up to the real relaunch happening in September, October, and November. They're gonna have like a whole bunch of new books for X-Men. So that's going to be exciting. And I hope that Marvel continues this whole trend of really putting X-Men at the forefront of their brand. We can see that with a lot of stuff they're doing as far as like merchandise, because they have like a whole bunch of new toys coming out, which I'm excited about. I think the new Marvel Legends line looked really good. They come out with more and more of them. They have that special edition with Phoenix, Storm, and Mystique Barbies coming out, which look really good. There's some anime toys coming out in Japan. I think they're Revolt. Okay, I'm pronouncing it wrong probably. And there's just so much on the horizon. And then there's that DLC for Ultimate Alliance coming out. I think they already added Colossus and Cyclops on the 30th of August. And then they're going to have a whole new X-Men pack for the game, which I'm probably going to wait to buy X-Men. I'm going to wait to buy Ultimate Alliance 3 when the X-Men pack comes out, because I want to play with the X-Men. Hopefully there's a lot of X-Men characters in there. And yeah, it's just like the sky's the limit right now. Hopefully there's I'm hoping they come out with an X-Men like game like Spider-Man, like just a whole X-Men game like that. That would be so good. The Marvel's Avengers game coming out looks pretty good so far. It looks a little rough in some areas, but I hope that's like a template for things to come later, and I hope that we get X-Men game like that. That would be super cool. I hope we need to get a new cartoon. Like, we need a new cartoon. Like, we haven't had an X-Men cartoon in so many years. Like, we have been so X-Men cartoon deprived for so long. Hopefully we get like another Marvel vs. Capcom game. That would be dope. Or, you know, let's get an X-Men versus Street Fighter game. Let's just start back at the basics. Let's go back to the basics. Because the Marvel Infinite tried to revamp the whole franchise. I didn't go back to the complete basics, which is going back to the very first crossover game, which is X-Men versus Street Fighter. That would be super dope, which is nothing but Street Fighter characters versus the X-Men characters back again in a new game. That would be so cool and dope. But yeah, right now it's a good time to be a fan of the X-Men. I feel like Marvel's finally seen the light. Finally, because they have all the pieces of X-Men back at home, so they can do what they want with it. They can recoup all the money from it too. So that means we're gonna probably see a lot more stuff for X-Men probably the next couple of years, honestly. And it's exciting. It's a good time, because I've been feeling so like, I just look at like the last couple of years have been really tough being a fan, because like they just really weren't doing much with it. I mean, Marvel Infinite was a clear understanding of that. If they didn't have the movie rights, they weren't going to do anything with X-Men ever again. Like, they were just like, X-Men, what's that? Like, they even had the audacity to have that interview where a dude said, who remembers the X-Men? Like, ugh. I don't want to rehash that. That was a whole other video I did about Marvel vs. Capcom. That was heartbreaking to make, but it was, ugh. I'm glad now that they have the movie rights back, they get to do right by their franchise and finally do something amazing with it. And hopefully in the next couple of years, we get some cool stuff, because I'm waiting for more stuff for X-Men. I'm ready. So, yeah, that's it. So, my advice to everyone that's watching this possibly is go read House of X. Go read Powers of 10 right now. Please do it. Do it now. It is such an incredible. If you've never read a comic book before in your life, now is the time to do it. Please. It is such an incredible read. You don't have to have much knowledge of X-Men. It pretty much starts you from scratch. So if you've never been reading off your entire life, or haven't read them in years, do it now. It's the time. The time is nigh. Thanks for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, tell me how much you love the X-Men, and we'll see you next video.